over to live. Yay. What happens? Good morning and welcome to Coffee Chat with David and Kylie Knight.
Hey, that's us.
That is
Hey,
us.
good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Tuesday, April the 21st, 2020.
Yeah, we are glad to have you guys with us this morning. I see Russell Anderson's hanging out back there.
Yeah.
Hey, good to see you. Hey, hey.
Be sure to say hello if you're joining us here.
Right. Use the hashtags Hello Nights and hashtag Cup of Awesome.
That's right. Yeah, we're excited for an entire week of coffee chat with guests every single day.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great week, everyone.
There are some benefits to this pandemic, aren't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're home and everyone else is home so we can get hold of people.
Exactly.
It's great. It's great.
Well, hey, and be sure, if you're jumping on, be sure to like and share because the more you share, the more people know about what we're doing here and the more stuff we'll want to do.
Exactly.
If people don't want to see us do it, we won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's not true. We've been doing it for 2 years and we still do it. So we have had an interesting 24 hours. Well, I guess just an interesting...
Just an interesting morning, right?
3 hours. Yeah, interesting morning. You want to tell your story, darling?
I'd love. Wow, guys. So I've told the story before that David is such a good husband. Nearly every morning he will wake up ahead of me, like an hour before me to get up, and he usually does a little work, has some prayer time and other things. I don't know what he does in the morning, but then he makes sure that he knows when I'm waking up. So that way in the morning when my alarm goes off, he wanders in to the bedroom, brings me my glass of water, a cup of coffee, gives me a morning kiss. It's a beautiful thing, and I've been blessed to have that for years now.
Yes,
I
you
really have.
I'm quite wonderful.
So this morning, he does his usual coffee, morning, and kisses. And then I'm not really awake. I think I had a bit of a rough night. I think there was some active dreams. I don't know what it was about, but I think I was moving a lot. So I had a little tough time waking up. And so I think I didn't even know how this happened. I rolled over to go grab either the water or the coffee that he puts on the bedside table. I knocked the coffee, guys. The coffee spills right onto the bed, onto me. Somehow it splashed on the wall, on the floor. It's gone everywhere. So I'm jumping up out of bed because I've got hot coffee right on my butt and down my entire side, y'all. It's gone everywhere. So hot coffee burning me. It's all over the bed, and I'm like, coffee's going to stain my white sheets. So I'm jumping up, trying to get these hot clothes and everything out. And David's grabbing towels to try to mop it all up. I'm like, get the floor. I'm getting all the sheets up. It was a madhouse. So thankfully we got it cleaned up. I've washed the sheets and I think they're okay. Everything survived.
I think you managed
but that was quite the wake up.
Well,
I've never got out of it.
I was gonna say, normally in the morning you're a little slow to rise.
I am.
She likes to kind of take her time.
I do.
Be a little, not lazy, but just relaxed about moving.
Correct.
And sometimes she's like...
And I'm okay setting the alarm a little earlier to give myself time to do that.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
And a lot of times, like, if I try to talk to you, like, I'm not awake yet, don't talk to me. I'm not coffee. And you're like totally out of it. This morning, I have never seen you get up so fast and so, like, awake and alive as I saw you do this morning.
You're
It's pretty
welcome.
amazing. But let's not do that.
Let's not do that again. We wasted a perfectly good cup of coffee
We
there.
did waste a perfectly good
So,
cup. And some people only have one cup of coffee. So,
Some do. Crazy. So, as I'm getting everything washed up, David was sweet and made me another cup of coffee.
I did.
So, thank you for that.
And then I made you some breakfast tacos.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
I've been making meals for several weeks now, and
You
so
have.
David was
Been
sweet
good.
enough to make me breakfast today.
The one good thing I did.
So that was our morning.
Yes. And speaking of one good thing,
One good thing. Yes.
we have a really exciting guest today.
Yes.
I've known this guy, I'm not going to say how long because it's embarrassing for both of us.
Well, you can say that you were college roommates.
We were college roommates, yes.
Yeah.
And we knew each other in high school.
Right.
We were both part of the men's choir. And one thing I will say before I bring him on is this gentleman. The reason I said one good thing is he hosts a podcast called One Good Question, which we're going to talk about in a moment.
Exactly.
But one thing I remember about our guest today is he was always like the best dressed guy in every situation.
That's
like
what you always
he
told me.
never entered a room without looking like just totally on point.
Right.
And it was phenomenal, and it always amazed me. So
I'm glad you and I dressed up.
yeah, no, we went upscale for him today.
I'm so sorry.
Anyways, well, let's bring on our guest. Please
Yes.
welcome my friend and now yours, Mr. Leon Davis. And I'm going to see if I can. Of course, I can't untoggle his. He untoggled it. Did you turn your
I think he
mute
did.
on? Yeah, you're on. No, you're on.
I'm on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
Yeah, there.
Hey, how we doing?
good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. It's good to have you with us today.
Looking good, my friend.
I know. See
Well,
what I
thank
mean?
you.
I know.
I think you kind of oversold the well-dressed thing. I have kids now, so no.
That does change stuff, doesn't it? From what I hear. I
Yes,
don't know.
yes, definitely.
Hey, Clark. Thanks for joining us. And Michael, you're here too.
Oh, yeah. Welcome, guys. Glad to have
Hey.
you both here. So, Leon, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And you can see he's.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today we're really kind of talking. You've done a lot in your life, but I think today we're going to kind of really focus on
In his young.
in his young. I mean, yeah,
young
he's not that
years.
old. He's only 25, I think.
Yeah.
Let's go. But let's start off by talking about One Good Question, which is a podcast you run, and you had us on recently. Tell us a little bit about the podcast and what was the inspiration for you starting that thing up.
All right, so as you mentioned earlier, I had choir, so I've always had kind of this weird booming voice, like since 5th grade. Not weird, I guess I've always had this big voice, and since 5th grade. Only reason I joined choir actually is because Pilar Kuhn told me that I had great resonance, and I was like, a girl just said I should be in choir, so I'm gonna go be in choir.
That's great. Good.
Fairly certain that's the reason I joined choir too.
And so I get out of choir. So after high school, people still always like, "Hey, great voice," et cetera, et cetera. I go see Gary Vaynerchuk in 2011, and I stood in line to get my book autographed, and the first thing he says to me, like, he says, "What's your name?" I go, "Leon." He looks up at me. He goes, "Leon, you have to monetize that voice." So that's something that I've really kind of, ever since then, I'm like, all right, well, this really smart guy who makes millions of dollars said that. I should probably figure it out. and just looking for a vehicle in podcasting. And then, so last year I got a little serious about it and started really researching if I could do it, found out it was easier than I thought it was. And then the concept came to me. Some friends batting it up. I can't even remember who I was with, kind of bouncing the concept around, but kind of bouncing the concept around, and came up with some friends from work, I believe, and the concept came together, and then we have One Good Question.
And so tell us a little bit about what the concept is. I mean, it's kind of in the name, but it's I think more interesting than just that.
Yeah. So the idea is to ask interesting people one good question, and then to learn from their viewpoints and their perspectives. There's a lot of pressure on me to come up with a really good question, not a question where people can go, yes, That would be a really boring podcast. So I try to find something that's usually a little bit off the beaten path for who I'm speaking with. Sometimes I still run the line of who they are if they're interesting. Like I think the one I have coming up tomorrow is kind of that's like it runs the exact same line as far as what that person does for life. And so, but usually I try to find something that's a little bit different, and get them talking about other things that I find interesting. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and you've had some really interesting guests. I mean, I would say you've probably had some of the most interesting guests I've ever seen on a podcast. I saw you had this illusionist on there one time.
Yeah, he was great. He was great. We had he was talking about how he's an all-in type of guy. So
that he is.
That's funny.
And you get a hi, Daddy Leon from Maya. So
Yeah.
that just came through.
My family's on watching me.
Yes.
I love it. And you have a fantastic family. We had the chance to hang out with them on several
they're great.
occasions, and it's always a blessing.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
well, now you've been heavily involved in the restaurant industry for quite a while.
Yes.
And
He can cook.
he can cook. Oh my goodness, yeah.
So good.
It's not even funny. But what is your current situation with that? And then what are changes that you're seeing as a result of this whole pandemic thing?
Okay, so I currently am employed, furloughed now, but employed by Macy's technically, but we opened a new concept in South Lake called Market by Macy's, and there's a cafe involved. So I'm the food and beverage manager over that cafe. And so Macy's furloughed pretty much everyone except for like top leadership. But we're doing okay. We're in a pretty good position. So we're hoping that we can get back up and running by June. That's heads up, but that's our goal. But we'll see how this progresses. As far as the changes, it's interesting because I think there is going to be a little bit of shift toward the way we do business now. I don't think it's going to be as hard of a shift toward the delivery companies as people think it's going to be. I think in the long run, the smaller providers will end up doing their own delivery just because those delivery companies are taking such a big chunk of change from them. I mean, it's like 30%. And then they're actively on the back end, because I worked on the corporate end also. They're actively on the back end actually negotiating with larger companies. And those larger companies are only paying like 10, 15% commission. But of course, they have like thousands of units. So they're pretty much just spreading that out across those units. And then the smaller individual privateers are paying 30%. So I don't see that being the change, but I think in general there's going to be a lot of just rethinking of the way we do business and how the restaurant business works.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Well, and you are quite a family man, which is a beautiful thing to see. So how is your family adjusting and dealing with this outbreak?
We're doing pretty well. The kids have their stir crazy moments, but in general, everybody's doing pretty well. Trying to keep them doing their schoolwork on a regular basis. We're not like regimenting them into an 8-hour day. We're like, this is what you have to do today. Because we get emails from all their teachers. Make sure you get it done. And then we just kind of check out on them throughout the day and kind of let them move at their own pace. And they're doing pretty well. They have their days, of course, but they're doing pretty well with that. As far as we get them outside in the backyard, we're doing gardening, things of that nature. So we have a nice garden now. So all kinds of fun stuff, broccoli and tomatoes and squash.
So you're teaching them about all that at the same time?
Yeah, well,
That's
my wife
great.
is. That's her thing. The only thing I really take care of is the grapevine, and I don't really take care of it anymore because it's grown. I just go look at it. so I'm like, hey, look, it looks nice. Okay, cool.
They're still grapes.
Yeah,
I think it's a great thing for the kids to learn too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We compost and everything, so they know about like how that works. Yeah. So they were able to lay the compost this year for the bed, for the flower bed, and it looks like it's working out really well.
That's amazing. That's
Cool.
awesome. So, what do you feel are the benefits we might see from this pandemic and this crazy time that we're in?
Well, what I'm hoping to see is a larger focus on community.
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping people will appreciate community better and the time they spend. Definitely will be more health conscious as a country. And it seems that people will be a little more aware of cross-contamination, like being from a restaurant background. It really, like, there's things that happen in public that drive me nuts. But you're like, but I'm thinking from a restaurant perspective. And, but I think people are starting to understand some of those little interesting, the smaller details that being in the industry, I notice people are starting to understand a little bit more how that affects.
Sure. Well, cool. Well,
Awesome.
yeah. Now we'd like to enter into our lightning round that we call 5 questions.
Woo!
Yeah.
So you want to take the first one?
All right, so we've got a lot of extra time on our hands, so I'm sure you're watching some TV. What are you binge watching right now?
All right, so I don't watch a ton of TV,
No?
like on my own.
Good for you.
If I have kids, they watch it. I did binge the Tiger King. I kind of regretted it,
Yeah.
but it was one of those guilty pleasure things. Like, these people are nuts, but it's just awesome. Yeah. So not really doing a lot of binge watching. I have some things I'd like to get to, but I never, like, in real life, I never get to them. So now it's like, if I get to them, I do. If not a big deal.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Good answer. So, if you could have any other job than the one you have right now, what would it be?
Full-time podcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to be able to do this full time. That is kind of the ultimate goal.
Yep.
So I'm always trying to work on the brand and expand the reach, and full-time podcaster.
Wow. I
Nice.
think you're well on your way to that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, as a chef, this is going to be a really interesting question. What is your favorite to-go order?
Right now, my favorite to-go order, there's a place up the street, Johnny's Pizza, and it's New York style pizza,
Oh, yeah?
and I love it. I mean, it's if, like, you ask me, like, my favorite thing to eat and not sit in a restaurant and eat, it's that. We had it the other night,
Ooh.
and that would be my favorite. Everything else is pretty, it's like Chick-fil-A, blah blah blah. But if I'm gonna take something home and love it, it's Johnny's Pizza. It's really good.
Johnny's
So,
Pizza. I'll keep
Okay.
that one in mind.
Yeah.
Very cool.
yeah.
What are you reading right now?
Reading. So I read a lot of articles. So I listen to books. Range is the one that is on my Audible right now.
Rain.
Yeah, it's about they weigh the difference between specialization and generalization.
Okay.
So the example they use is Tiger Woods versus Roger Federer, because Tiger was hyper specialized, and Roger Federer's parents, even though they were tennis coaches, are like, no, don't play tennis.
Oh,
and he
interesting.
gravitated toward tennis. And so, and it's like, which one's better? The majority of the world, generalization works better.
Uh-huh.
And it's like the circumstances have to really line up for somebody who's hyper specialized to really capitalize on that.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so there's a quote that people don't really know, like, the master of all things,
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Jack of all
yeah.
trades, master of one. There's
Nice.
actually a second part to that. It's Jack of all trades, master of none, oftentimes better than master of one.
Interesting.
Oh, I didn't know
Wow,
that
I didn't
part.
know that.
And that's actually the full quote. And I learned it listening to that guy, actually, David Epstein, on a podcast.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
We just learned something.
We did learn something. Check that out.
Great. Okay, final question. They decide to make a movie of your life. Who plays you?
This one's funny. So check this out. So I really couldn't decide this, but my wife helped me. So it would be Idris Elba so that Kobe could be married to her.
That's awesome.
Well
That's awesome.
played. Well
done.
played.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well-
So she could listen to that English accent of his.
Right.
Just
I mean, I'd be singing with him. That'd be cool. See, make it about me. Awesome. Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, people want to check you out, want to know more about the podcast, want to know more about you. What do they do? Where do they go?
All right, so you can find me wherever you podcast, except for Pandora right now, and that's in the work. So hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'll have Pandora up and running. But pretty much look up One Good Question by Leon Davis on Spotify, Apple Podcast, on Stitcher. I'm on all of them, so I'm easy to find. At Give Good Q on Twitter, at Give Good Q&A on Instagram. There we go. Sorry.
Okay.
Awesome.
Got it.
So,
Very cool.
so.
Well, Leon, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
Yeah, definitely, man. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for
Anytime.
having it.
You bet.
Yeah.
We'll
Yep.
talk soon.
Bye.
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 Well, cool. So tomorrow we have coming up on, that was fun. We have coming up on, I got to mute everything. There you go. Yes, continue, mute. All right. Tomorrow we have coming up on Coffee Chat another good friend of ours, Kathy Hutchison, who you guys are going to love.
Yes.
She is one of the most vivacious, fun, and creative people I've ever met in my life.
Full of joy.
Full of joy.
Creative beyond words.
I mean, look at that photo. How can you?
I know.
She's just a
She's
blast.
great.
So be sure to check us out for that.
Yeah, that's tomorrow,
That
right
is
here.
That's right. That's right. Well,
Cool.
cool. Any final thoughts?
That's what all I got. I'm happy. I've got coffee.
You got your coffee, and you're good.
I'm good.
Awesome. Well, I know
Yeah.
we've got a ton of stuff to get done today, so
We do.
thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yes,
Same
right
time?
here.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.